Let's take another dip into the CIA library and check out this article from 1966 called Can Communists Control the Weather? And that is a very good question right now as Arctic crazy weather comes all over the place, all over this country in very weird instances with clear elements of massive hypocrisy, as Tennessee residents don't have power, but the stadium could put on the football game and heat that puppy no problem. So a lot of things, looting in Buffalo, people part survival, part just whatever, people freezing in cars. It's a nightmare out there, and they did it right at the holidays. You know, if you believe weather is perfectly natural and every weather is an act of God, and you're still around, then I think you got to consider this. Can communists control the weather? 1966. And then always remember the Rain Man, the Rainmaker in California in the early 1900s. And I wonder how long it's before that. So how long has our weather been trash? Wasn't the Bible, my friend the other day told me that there was a time without any rain. And so I don't know what to believe or what to think. But I wanted to read this article because it's clear to me that the weather is manipulated, and that I think nature has lost the ability around here to do it properly, except for some spots. But I think mountains and different areas that are pure have great weather, but a lot of the areas, the heavily populated ones and the ones controlled by evil, seem to get hit by the most crazy stuff, or the ones that evil wants to control. Who knows? It's all crazy. But in the 66, Robert S. Allen, I was looking up Arctic stuff, but so the Alan Scott report. Here we go. Can communists control the weather? Robert S. Allen and Paul Scott, 1966. Washington. From the communist half of the world, we are beginning to hear strange sounds, remarkably like the rumble of gun carriages moving into place before a great battle or an epic-making event. The first omen of trouble is an intelligence report from U.S. officials in Moscow that Soviet scientists may be nearing human control of weather and thus development of the ultimate weapon. The second warning of an ominous and/or monumental space event is from a Polish scientist attending the 17th Annual International Astronautical Congress in Madrid. And it really is the ultimate weapon because you can convince billions of people that it's natural and you can do whatever you want. In a private meeting with U.S. intelligence authorities, this Polish scientist warned that the Russians were planning a weather-changing experiment designed to electrify the world and affect the weather in many areas of the globe. According to this report from Madrid, the Soviet weather test will take place in late October or November and might be induced in the Space Spectacular for visiting World Communist Party leaders now gathered in Moscow. I also get a bit of the, put it out there, blame other people for doing what you're doing, the Clinton-esque tactic of doing that. I get a little bit of that vibe here, but let's keep going. If the weather experiment is not attempted this month, the Polish scientist said that there was talk among Russian technicians that it would coincide with either the November 12th eclipse of the sun or during the Leonid shower of meteorites, which is expected to be visible on November 16th. U.S. space officials are planning an experiment timed with the latter. So that's very interesting. The space officials are kind of syncing things with these celestial occurrences so that they probably know the true origin of and give us total garbage. In this startling report, the U.S. authorities, the Polish scientists revealed that the Soviets were dealing with forces of almost beyond imagination. Their weather experiments, he claimed, would include the detonation of a nuclear warhead thousands of miles in outer space. Many of the Russian scientists involved in the coming weather experiments, he said, were concerned that their tinkering might touch off a catastrophic reaction. Whether these reports had been passed on to President Johnson could not be immediately ascertained by this column. However, the Madrid report arrived on Washington early on Tuesday, October 11th, or nearly a week before the president departed on his Asian trip. Coincidentally, a few days later, on Friday, October 14th, Dr. Walter Orr Roberts, the director of the National Center for Atmospheric Research, forecast that man would be able to achieve major control over the weather in this century. In a little-noticed talk at a science symposium at Carleton College, Northfield, Minnesota, Dr. Roberts reported that the key to controlling weather was the construction of a giant computer large enough to duplicate the mechanisms of weather. Interesting. While he presented no information on Soviet advances in building such a computer, Dr. Roberts reported that the U.S. did not now have one and probably wouldn't until the mid-70s. Oh, according to Dr. Roberts, this part's a little blurry. Scientists they believe that extremely small forces are the triggers for weather changes, although weather involves forces of major dimensions. Although we don't know what triggers are at work, he explained, we know how to approach this question and are doing it. A noted solar astronomer, Dr. Roberts mentioned a number of possible weather triggers, including cirrus clouds, carbon dioxide, volcanic dust, and the melting of Arctic ice. The National Center for Atmospheric Research, which is undertaking a number of these weather studies, is located at the University of Colorado in Boulder. I wonder which experiments they've done in the name of science. At the University of Colorado, also the Air Force has authorized a group of scientists to make a full-scale study of unidentified flying objects, UFOs. Senator Abraham A. Rubikoff, Democrat of Connecticut, who has been warning his colleagues that weather control can be used as a massive weapon of war, is setting the stage to bring this new danger into the open / dark. Under the senator's personal direction, the staff of his Senate Government Operations Subcommittee is now gathering information from administration sources on the military implications of both U.S. and Soviet weather modification programs. Aides report that Senator Rybakov plans hearings sometime after the November elections. Always got to dangle stuff, you know? At that time, top administration, intelligence, defense, and nuclear scientists will be called as witnesses to determine whether Russia or the U.S. is ahead in this scientific race to achieve human control of the world's weather, which they probably already were doing. If the rumblings coming out of Moscow are not entirely delusive, the next few weeks should give U.S. authorities the evidence needed to determine how far the Russians have advanced towards obtaining that ultimate weapon. U.S. and Russian undersea warfare experts are playing out a Cold War battle in the Bahamas that goes well beyond the underwater spy clashes of a James Bond thriller filmed on location there. It centers on the U.S. underwater warfare test ground near Nassau called AUTEC, the Atlantic Undersea Test and Evaluation Center. Is that why they don't want anything happening in that Bermuda Triangle area? One of the many things, because they probably have the underwater ultimate tech in that zone, maybe. Something ancient, who knows, something very modern, something ridiculous, something very secretive, guaranteed. And that's a whole nother story. But either way, I found this to be very crazy because we're seeing so many things. I mean, the geoengineering is ridiculous. You see from those images in the video that it's just for Hurricane Ian from Geoengineering Watch, and it's just ridiculous. It's like, what the heck is going on here? We need to be told the truth so that we can figure out a way to actually fix this stuff, because it is a big problem, I imagine, and I'm sure they, like all the things, the people in control are just patching little band-aids up that are going to lead to some inevitable disaster. Hopefully not. But
the predicate and the foundation for the development of a weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
So yeah, that's not good for us, the controlled, sadly. But I saw this as well today. Boom, startup talking about climate change. Oh yeah, whoa, we're like one of the first ones to totally do this, bro. Keep giving us donations. Where it's another method, spraying sulfur all over the place, which I'm sure they've done in the past before. And these guys, they put these things out. The MITs put these things out, and the pseudo intellectuals just absolutely love it and think they're on the cusp of the cult of science. Yes. But this thing's been going for so long. I really wonder what the biblical ancient interpretations of weather are and different things in the system of it, and when it was destroyed, when the system flowed perfectly, when it was beautiful. I remember when I was young, it seemed definitely a lot more normal, but it's gotten haywire since. But this article, if I still saved it, take it out there. But balloon launches, spreading stuff, they're just dumping stuff. Any excuse to just dump on us. The quotes that I encircle with my mouse in this are like absurd. It's just like not even, it's not even funny. And they're just like, they just like don't have a clue. Like it's a bunch of dorks with a bunch of money that are just like, oh, how can we just spend this and kill, or just desecrate and do whatever and take no responsibility for it. And it's absolutely absurd. Hopefully these scientists end up getting pummeled by truth soon enough. But either way, enjoy this little CIA library dive, and let's see, oh my God, tell people, there's another thing, the tans, jeez. If you ever go to the beach and people are just blasting that stuff and you can taste it and it gets everywhere, it's disgusting. I absolutely am appalled by spray sunscreens and tans and different things. Like, dear God, we've got a lot of work to do, and we have to do it for everyone. We have to just see what this place is like with restored capabilities and with truth. That's all we want to do is just know. There should be an avenue of truth out there that is not just propaganda-induced garbage. Some form of truth that is the truth. You can have other options and different little sayings out there, but there is only one, and it needs to be discovered, especially in regards to weather, but also so much more. All these things circle under our health and the health of our world, and that's what we want to be supreme and as good as possible. All of those things, the health of everyone, so that people are happy, people are united, people are working together for a common awesomeness, and no more of this nonsense, no more of this evil that has no place here in this beautiful place. So, let's see what we can do in 2023 and beyond. Bless you all.